So Hibernate. Hibernate is what? Hibernate is a framework, ORM based approach, anything we can say provided by Java. There, what we can do in this, see, there we'll have a structure works with ORM. What is ORM? Object Relational Mapping. Okay, like we'll have something in object and then we'll have a relational and then mapping. So how we are going to do this? So object is what, like, see, we'll have some object like a model class, some class, anything. And then we are going to communicate that with relational mapping. Okay, so what is that relational mapping? That relational mapping, like you are going to communicate with a database or anything or the console or like any type of structure. So like if I'm talking about the very starting of the Hibernate, so in that way, we are supposed to create 4 files. If we are discussing about the very basic structure of the Hibernate. So what is the first file? First file is, of course, our model class. Second file, we required an HBM file. HBM is Hibernate, so mapping. There we'll have a file which can like provide the mapping. What we'll have in this mapping? The fields of DB. The fields which we had defined in first class. Third file, which we'll have a CFG. So CFG stands for the configuration of DB, the database. Fourth, what we'll have? In fourth, we'll have your tester, controller, anything you can say, which will going to communicate with all the files step by step using configuration. Okay, so that will going to perform, communicate using configuration. Now, how these files are interrelated? So, fourth file will going to call the third one. Third file will going to call the second one. Second file will going to call the first one. This should be the structure which we'll have. Okay, now see, now how we can create this file. The tester can be a main file. Okay, that main file will going to call the database configuration. That will check that database configurations are fine or not. Okay, then this database configuration will go and check the fields of database, like do we have that table, the fields and everything. And after that, that will going to call the operations, whatever we are performing with this model class, because the fields which we are defining, that is in them. So it means all files are interrelated. Now, which structure we are going to create for this project? So the structure should be a Maven based project. So I'll go to this file option, new, and then we'll find this Maven project. If you'll not find this option, like maybe you are in this Java perspective. So what you can do, you can just simply go to new and go to this other and type a Maven project. Next. Now, if you know that what is the archetype, like see what type of a project you are creating. So you can click on this next button and there you will find the 5 categories, ideally 5 or 4 categories there. So we are going to create a Maven Central if we are very familiar with that, what type of project we are creating. So that list is loading. You can check in the bottom. That list is loading. The archetype is loading from this section. So that will take time. So what we can do, we can simply click on this option. So that will skip this process. I can click on next. It required a group ID name. So let me provide com.hib.test and then artifact ID. So same name I'm going to provide. Packaging. So what type of packaging ideally you want? An archive file, a POM file, project object model, or a web archive file. So that is a Java archive. So we are going to create a console-based project. So that is sufficient for us. Like, see, we can go with that option. Finish. Okay. Now, see, let it be set up. You can check that this project is setting up there, this project. And this is the structure. We need to wait for that structure to get downloaded. If you see, if you will not get this structure in couple of minutes or couple of seconds, it means there is a problem with the internet speed, or there is a problem with this Eclipse or your version or anything. In that case, what you can do, you can simply right click on that. We'll have the option of a Maven, and there we'll have the option of update project. You can click on this checkbox, force update, and then click OK. So that will also work. See, my project is already updated, so nothing required. Okay. Now the question comes in mind, what is the next step? So if you created your project structure, so first step is completed, which is project structure is ready. Now, what is the second step? Second step, if you are going to create Hibernate, JPA, Spring, Boot, whatever project you are going to create, first step is set up pom.xml. What is in that XML? That XML contain all the libraries of our project. Like if what is the library? Library, maybe you know that as a ZAR file that have the all the complete structures, inbuilt codes. Like, see, if we are going to use MySql, so we need to set up that MySQL. If we are going to use Hibernate, so we need to set up that ORM, Hibernate related dependency. Otherwise, you can see, otherwise, either you need to use the traditional approach that you need to go to the build path and then add library. So in that case, we must have all the ZAR, but that is not suggestible. What is suggestible? Just go with this pom.xml related structure. So do we have that pom.xml in our code? Yes, we have this file. This file, this is the last file in your project structure. Now I can double click on that, and initially I'll not find anything. So if you are familiar with this pom, so you can type code in that. Suggestible, don't change this structure. Okay, because that structure is already fixed. So don't change this structure. Now, if you know that what we can put there, so that is fine. Otherwise, what we can do, we'll have our official website, which is Maven repository. Okay, Maven repository. What you require, just simply go to Google and type that Maven repository. Now that will give you all the libraries which are useful to create a Maven related projects. So at this point of time, which library we required? So at this point of time, we required a very limited libraries, which is Hibernate ORM. And the second one is the database. Okay. Okay. So see, now what I'm going to put there, let's understand this, that how we can create a Maven based project. That approach is pretty simple. Ideally, you can download that structure from this as well. Like, see, we'll have this website. That website is start.spring.io. Start.spring.io. There, see, this from this website, you can say that, okay, you are going to work with this Maven based structure that required a Spring Boot. So you can see we are working with this Hibernate. So you can go with this old structure, any project name, anything. If you want to change them, you can change. That group name is like com.hib, and then we'll have Hibernate code like this. And this is for Hibernate. And there what we'll have, guys, you can directly add dependencies from that side. Okay, because see what we required ORM, Hibernate, JPA. So see, there we'll get this Java persistence. We require this MySql. Okay, and then you can click on generate. That will give you a zip file. With this zip file, you can extract and put it in your Eclipse. So that we'll check later. Now this is our Maven based project. Now, okay, so we are working on this POM file. Now I need to add the dependencies. So see, second, in the bottom, you will find, this is your XML code. In the bottom, you will find dependencies. Okay, so which dependency I require there? I required MySQL dependency. So you can directly type MySQL hyphen connector connector-j. Okay, and what is our version? You can type Java as well, no problem. What is our version? See, if I'm going to type 8.0.24, and that scope can be a runtime, so that from runtime it can easily identify what is my version if I don't want to put that. But if I know my version, so that can fetch. Like say, if I'm not going to put, then okay, then automatically a code generated in this section. Okay, automatically we'll have this code. If you want to perform any changes in this, right? So this is our dependency. This is our dependency. Now version, I'm just going with 8.0.24. Okay. Now you can find that version is added there. Because of that version, I was getting it. Okay. Now see, on this left-hand side, there is no Maven dependency. Remember, no Maven dependency because this POM is not saved. Now, when I'm going to save this, then what happened? You can see a line there, which will going to refresh download the dependency, and meanwhile we'll get a folder, a path created automatically for this Maven dependency. Let me save this code, Control S. Now that is building, and we'll get this Maven dependency. And what we'll have inside this Maven dependency, inside this, we'll have MySQL 8.0.2. But if you said that, okay, that you are using 8.0.31, no problem. Sorry, 9.1 is not released yet. 3.1. Now, that version is changed to 8.0.31 dynamically. If you are using 3.2, save Control S, that will change to 3.2 automatically. Everything got changed dynamically. Now, see, again, if you don't know about this, see, because at initial level, this is your POM structure. Now you tell me that we don't know how to put this. Okay, we had not understand. So we'll have this suggestion, Maven repository. There simply type MySQL, enter. And you will find this MySQL connector on the top. There I'll have two release, 8.0.32 and 8.0.31. This is the latest one, which was pushed on 18th Jan 2023. So where are the previous version? Like before that, no one was working on MySQL. No, people are working. You can see these all are the versions which are, but we'll have some vulnerabilities over there. So that's why it's suggestible to not to use 5, this MySQL, 6, these MySQLs were used earlier. Okay, now we people are working on this 8.0. So anyone, you see, we don't have any issue in that. So I can click on that, and this is the code for the Maven, Gradle, okay, Kotlin, everything will have that. So I can click, once I'll click, that will copied automatically. On a single left click, that will copied automatically. Now, let me put this, go to my Eclipse, and where I'm going to paste it. Now, see, if I'll paste it there, so it does not have a father tag. The parent tag is not there. That's why we are getting error in this dependency. So what you need to put, first tag is dependencies. That is loading this tag. Whatever dependency you will have, you are going to put it there. Okay, now I'm just going to paste this. No Maven dependency is there. Save, and then we'll get this Maven dependency automatically. Now it means now we can use the MySQL. In this Hibernate. Second, what we require. Second, I require the Hibernate ORM. So again, what is the syntax? See, I don't know what is the syntax. So this will help me. This Maven dependency. So let me type Hibernate. Okay, I'll get this Hibernate core relocation. So the latest release was on, one second that we can check there, 17th March 2023. Okay, so let me click on this and any file we can go with. See, there is no vulnerabilities. So we can go with any file. So this file has good use. 132. I'm not saying that this should be used. You can go with any one. So let me click on that. Let me click on that. Copied. That is copied. And let me put it there. Now see how many files I'll have this Maven dependency? 2 only. Now, once I'll click on Control S. So that is saved. Not saved. Now saved. And all dependencies are downloaded, which I required for the Hibernate. Perfect. That work is done. So step first, one is done. So I require these 2 dependencies and I'll have these 2 dependencies with me. Perfect. Okay. Now next is we required model class. Again, the same example which we discussed last time. I'll go with the same example. So I required a model class. So first, okay, we got this package. So either we can create everything inside this package or you can create your package form.model or you can go with the default package. So initially suggestible, go with the default package. Employ and then finish. Now, what is the benefit with the ZAR file which we added? Okay, we'll check the benefit. So this is my entity model. What is model? Model is your entity. ENTITY. Okay. So we need to tell them that this is my entity. So let me tell them @ENTITY control space. So that is not looks good annotation. Do we have any other suggestion? Yeah, this one. Javax.persistence. So I'll go with this. Entity means this is my model class. So I'll have this. Okay. So if you put this @entity, so we are creating, guys, first file. So first file is our model class. And in this model class, ideally what we require this @ENTITY. If you'll put this, so that must, I mean, that have some requirement, some prerequisite, everything that we are going to implement later. What are those? We required @ID, we required @table, generation, entity, multiple things. Okay, no problem. So now I'll go with this integer ID, string name. Let me increase the size. Float salary, semicolon. Generate getter setter, right click source, generate getter and setter, select all, and then generate. So now this is my getter and setter, which we'll have, which is used to get the value and get the values and set the values. So now this is what we'll have. Perfect. So that file can work, that we are going to test later. Now, next what we require. Based on this structure, next we require a HPM. What is HPM? Hibernate mapping, and this is a XML file. Okay, initial level, see, everything was done with this XML, but with some time that XML was changed to annotations, and there, and in that case, this section is avoided. So initially, what I can do, I can remove this entity. You don't require this entity. Let me go with a simple Hibernate related approach. Okay, second we require a XML file, this XML. So that must have some field which are like class ID is required. If you have any other columns, so these sections are also required. Okay, so let me create a XML file. So right click new, other XML. Oh, sorry, XML. Simple XML file, of course. What should be the name? The name should be either employee.hbm.xml. So we can go with that. Employee.hbm.xml. XML we required in the end. Okay. So that seems fine. But guys, what is the structure of this XML? So first of all, you required a DTD whenever we are going to discuss about this XML. So we required a DTD. DTD is what? So we don't know the DTD at this point. We don't know what is the DTD of this. So what I can do, let me ask from this Maven dependency. In this Maven dependency, do we have hibernate somewhere? Yeah, we'll have this hibernate. Okay, in this, we'll have this first package. And in this first package, if I'll scroll down, so I'll find the DTD definition for the mapping file. So this is the DTD definition. What is the use of that DTD? I'll tell you. Let me type this control space. So that load only 3 sections, nothing else. Now, let me copy this. This is the DTD definition, and that file you cannot change. Okay. Let me paste it there, saved. Now let me go with this control space, and now let me type hibernate mapping control space. Perfect. So we'll get this. Now hibernate mapping is in my XML. So what is the benefit with this? Now we'll get all the required list. What I'll tell you earlier, that if I'm going to implement this type of approach, okay, hibernate mapping. So there we require database fields. So what are my database fields? My database fields are them. This is an integer, this is in a string, this is in float. Okay, so we can make it more simple. Let me remove this salary. Okay, that salary we can add later. Let me go with these two fields, name and ID. Okay, this is the file. Now we can close this. All right, now control space class. So what is your class? There you need to tell them what is your class name. If you don't know the attribute, simply press control space. That will load everything for you. So I required name. What is the class name? So what is my class name? My class name is employee. So I need to type this. This is my class name, employee. All right. So we have table. See, if you have a different table in database, you can type. Otherwise, my table name is also same employee. I'm going to type everything inside this class, control S. Still, we are getting red symbol. And how to identify this red symbol? That seems complicated, but if you hover your mouse over there, so that will say that it requires some tags because class is incomplete. It must match some meta tags, some subtags. What are them? So ID, it means we require this ID section in this. We already have ID. So ID, control space name. What is the field name? ID. What is the type? Integer. You need to tell the type as. Now ID is closed. That's enough. Okay, that is enough. Now we require some other tag. What are those tags? Those tags are property. See, now there is no error in this XML. Like if you have a single field, you can process with that. But we have one more field, and that we need to put with property. This property. Let's see if you guys are not supposed to, everyone, you are not supposed to write. This is a message for everyone. You're not supposed to write anything. Just work with control space. If control space is not working, it means something is missing in the path. Now, what is the property name? What is the name? Name. And what is the type? Double quotes string. That will comes in double quotes. That string. This file is completed. No issue with this file. Okay. Now, next what we required? Next, we required a hibernate configurations. So I'll go to top. Let me create another XML. Right click new XML. Next, that XML name is hibernate dot mapping dot xml. Not mapping, sorry. This should be CFG. I typed it wrong. CFG. CFG stands for configuration dot xml. Thing seems fine. Finish. Okay. Now this is my CFG file. And there I need to type all the database related configuration. What are them? How I got that tag and everything. So this is hibernate.cfg. Again, see, I'll ask from this jar file, my library, that my library will going to help me in that case. All right. So now we'll have this library. Okay. So that library will going to help me. I'll scroll down, 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 down. There I'll get the configuration related DTD. This is the DTD definition that is required to copy. Otherwise, you'll supposed to type everything manually, and at the end, you will get some error. All right. Okay. So one thing, if you'll notice, so this is my flow. Where is my flow? There. That second file should call the first one. Are they call? See, this HPM is calling the class name. It means second file is calling the first one. Now we'll have this cfg.xml that should call the previous file. But before that, what is the first thing which we required? Hibernate configuration, first tag. And that tag is not completed until and unless we'll have a session factory. So session factory is again a tag that required, and that is a interface which we are going to implement in Hibernate. So these two tags are done perfect. So this is your configuration, but still this configuration is not enough. Now you need to write your database related complete configuration, which we had typed in the previous code. Okay, like for the database communication, whatever we had typed in the previous code. So property name. So what is the property name? There you need to define hibernate dot, what actually you will have, connection dot URL. So there either you can go with a value or you can directly type the value. What is our URL? jdbc colon mysql colon / local host colon 3306 / what is the name of database? My test TV. All right. So let me copy this line and paste. Now we are only going to change this section. So I can copy this section only. First is URL, then we'll have a username, password. Okay. After this, we'll have a driver as well and dialect, and this is for the driver. This is for the dialect. This is for the show SQL, right? And auto DDL file we can also test. Okay, that we can test later. So hibernate.connection.driver. So what is our driver? Driver is com.mysql.cj.jdbc.driver. Perfect. Okay, instead of dot, I put this. 1 second. Dot. That works. Next, I required a username. So this should be the username. What is the username? Root. Next, I required a password. What is the password? Password is also root. Next, I required username, password is done. Dialect. D-I-A-L-E-C-T. Dialect is what? See, dialect, like if we are not going to put this dialect, so that will ask from the console that what is your dialect. So dialect is what? That what type of database we are using, what type of database version we people are using. So see, that is fixed ideally. If we'll get any error, so we can check that from internet. That is org.hibernate.dialect. hibernate dot dialect. Now, which we are using my SQL 8 dialect, because we are using this MySQL. If you are using Oracle, so you need to define the Oracle dialect. If you are using MySQL 5, so in that case, you need to provide the MySQL 5 dialect, right? I think that should works for me. One more thing which I can perform, I can go with driver underscore class that we can test, and we must have hibernate dot connection dot show underscore SQL2. One more thing which I forgot to tell you, we are not going to write a single line of, not going to write any DB query, because Hibernate can do this for us. That is Hibernate query language. Let's do this. Okay. So JDBC colon MySQL colon // let me check. Things seems fine. Okay. Now this need to call the previous file. So how we can do this? With the mapping control space, you'll find if you're working with the annotation, so you can go with this class. If you're working with the XML, so you need to go with resource. What is that file name? Exact file name we need to type. That is employee.hpm.xml. So employee dot hpm. One second. hpm.xml. Perfect. That code seems fine. Now we are going to implement the Hibernate. Okay, so now I'm going to implement the tester file. Right click, new class, tester, main finish. Okay, so if we are working with the Hibernate, so what is the first thing which we require? Configuration. What is the use of configuration? Configuration will going to call the file. Okay, the where you'll have all the configuration, like see third called second and second called first that we had done. And there you can check in this third file is calling the second one. If any spelling mistake, anything, that will fire an error. Okay, so configuration control space. So we'll get multiple list of configuration, and which we need to access the third, because we are working with the Hibernate. Control space, this is the reference, equals to new control space configuration semicolon. Okay, and now you need to provide the path. Where is your file? Configuration.configure. And there we require this file, string resource, document, URL. So I'll see anything you can select, and there you need to put your file name. What is our file name? hibernate.cfg.xml semicolon. Okay. Now we can print and test that either this complete process works fine or is there any error. Sys out 1. If this 1 will print, it means whatever we had done here, that works fine. If there is any error, so that will shows on console. And we got 1. It means everything works fine. And that is saying that my Hibernate started. This is the like showing the version of my Hibernate and everything. Okay, that works fine. Now what we require? Excuse me. So in this, now we'll have a tester, which is our controller. So there we required first a session factory. What is the use of that I'm going to tell you. Second, we require the session, and third, we require the transaction. So ideally, transaction is optional. We can work with the session as well. Now, what is session factory? Session factory will going to build a session for you. Build session. Okay, and that session can be, that session factory can be available for the multiple sessions. What is session? Session is your entity related anything. Entity related CRUD, I can type. See, ideally there is some other perfect theory, but practically we are going to perform all the CRUD related operation like create, retrieve, update, and delete. Transaction is what? Remember the use of transaction. Transaction will only going to commit the data. So in commit, we'll have update, delete, and insert, not read. For read, the session is enough. That can work. Now, how that will work? Let me check. So session control space factory. Do we have that session factory? Okay. So guys, again, it is showing this session factory, suggestible to go with that one. Okay. Control space session factory equals to, now you are going to call the object of the previous class. I mean the previous variable which you had created. So there I'll have the session factory. Session factory will going to call the configuration control space dot build session factory. Depreciated? No. Perfect. Most of the times you will get depreciated if you are using the higher version of Hibernate. All right. Second, we require the session control space. Now which session? Hibernate session. Control space session equals to session factory. That is not correct. Session factory dot open. There you are going to open session. Perfect. Now your session is open to perform any transaction or anything. Okay. So now we require transaction. Which transaction? Hibernate. Because transaction is responsible to save your data in database. Meanwhile, let me open MySql because we need to test that whatever we are going to put in that, is it inserting or not? So let me open this MySql. Is it open? That is there, MySql. All right, so do we have, where is our table? So we are only going to insert two data. This is our employee table. My test DB employee, right click, select rows. Okay, there we'll have salary. So what I can do, I can put salary as well, but I need to add additional field. So what I'll do, temporary. This is updated table that we can change later. And one more thing, we'll have ID as a auto increment. Okay, no problem. So transaction package imported, perfect. Transaction equals to session dot begin transaction. Now we can start the transaction. And now we need to persist, save the data in database with this setter and getter. Same thing, employee dot set ID. So we already have ID till 6. So let me add 10. Employee dot set name. What is the name? This is from Hibernate, any name we can type. Now you need to save this session. So how we can save that? Session dot save object employee, and please commit the transaction. So transaction dot commit, that will use to save your data in database. And let me type sys out 2. If data is inserted in database, so we'll get this completed. Session dot close. All right, that seems fine. Now let me run and check, will it work for us? If we'll get any error, so we can rectify that. Okay, that is working, pool size, that is working. MySQL dialect is open. We'll get this 2. It means data is inserted in database with the help of this. Let me check. Perfect. Data is there with the help of this Hibernate. So this is about that how we can set up the Hibernate and how we can insert our data in Hibernate. So that's it.